Hello everybody, Deathblade here. So I got a request for some behind the scenes videos about the translators. A lot of translators are fairly private and don't share their opinion, I think, publicly very often, so I thought that was a good question. I put together a little survey which I gave to some translators. I promised that the opinions that they told me in the survey would remain confidential. At least I would share the opinion, just not say who it came from. So I'm not going to say who took the survey, but I will tell you where the people who did the survey post their translations, and then you can guess who said what. Let's get started. So yeah, here's just what I was talking about a moment ago. Where do you post your translations? As you can see, I got 27 people to take the survey. I'm not really sure how many people are in the web novel translation community. Some of the people who took the survey do not translate Chinese to English. There are some Korean translators and even other languages. And so I'd say it's a relatively diverse group of people who took the survey. I think 27 is a pretty good sample size. I really doubt that the novel translation scene, the online novel translation scene, has more than, I don't know, 100 to 200 people seriously translating. As you can see here, most of the people who took the survey came from Wushworld and Volair, then the rest of them coming from other smaller sites, as well as Gravity. Actually, nobody from webnovel.com took the survey. I don't really know very many people who actually work over there at webnovel.com. I suspect that probably the survey didn't get passed around among them. I guess if it did, they didn't care about it. Honestly, webnovel.com, most of their translators are recruited not from the community of people who like this kind of stuff, but from community of translators. And so I don't think they're the same as the kind of translators you're going to find for the most part on Wushworld, Flare, Gravity, places like that. In terms of how long this group has been translating, as you can see, the vast majority has been doing it for a year or two. Actually, quite a few said less than a year. I was surprised at that. Between those two, you have the majority who are relatively inexperienced, and then with a smaller group who have been doing it for quite a while. All right, let's move on to the next question. I'm going to keep two on the screen at a time. The next one is, do you currently make a living at translating novels? And interestingly, most of the people said no. I'm not sure if this reflects the ratio of making a living to not making a living translators in the community as a whole. I actually would guess that there would be a smaller ratio of people who are making a living at it if we got a larger sample group. I feel like a lot of people are doing it as college students to make a little bit of money on the side, but aren't considering this to be their career or something. It's pretty interesting to see that there's so many people who are not doing it to make a living. I think that has a major impact on how they view it in terms of it being work or hobby or whatever. We'll get into that a little bit more in a couple minutes. This is an interesting one. How long do you see yourself continuing to translate novels? I think this should be good news for most people who follow translations on Wushworld, Volair, and the other sites. The majority, more than half, said about 4 or more years. So that's good. I mean, that indicates that the translators who are taking this survey most likely are going to be committed to finishing their novel, even if it takes a while. There are some down here that are only a year or two. It's hard to say why people would select that. Incidentally, I do have access to the information to see exactly who answered what, but I didn't look at that. I told the translators I would keep it confidential. I feel like that includes myself. I don't want to, I don't need to know who answered these questions in a certain way. And also, by the way, I forgot to mention earlier that I did make the translators sign in, so to speak, so that I could verify that it was actually translators taking the survey. All right, most of the translators that responded to the survey translate Chinese, but there were some others. Basically, I wanted to know how long it takes them on average to translate a chapter, which for the Chinese novels usually is about 3,000 Chinese characters. For those of you who follow my channel, you might have noticed a video I did a few weeks ago talking about how long it takes to translate a chapter, and this actually seems to verify the claim that I made in the video. The majority of the people who responded to the survey, about half, I guess, said put it at around between an hour and 2 hours. I think that's pretty standard and average. That totally is how I would view a good translator speed at being. 31 to 60 minutes, that's pretty fast. And we see that only 4 people responded 31 to 60 minutes. That's definitely pretty fast. Less than 30 minutes would be either machine translation or like some sort of godlike ability. And then for those that are over 180 minutes, that's kind of pushing the threshold of what I consider to be a speed that would be suitable for somebody trying to make a living at it. As you go along as a translator, after the first year or two, you really, I feel like, should see it more in this range here, like 90 to 180 minutes maximum. And most translators improve as they go along, and that speed tends to increase. Now, this is what motivates you to translate, and as I point out here, this question was about like what helps people to sit down and actually do the work, not like their philosophical reason for why they translate. Like if they were asked, why do you translate? This is more on a practical level. And guess what? The number one response was money. Incidentally, I let everybody pick as many responses as they want, and even add their own if they wanted. We'll look at those in a second. So the vast majority said money, and I think that makes sense, especially for somebody like me who's making a living at it, doing it full time. Obviously, the money is a motivating factor. I mean, it's work, right? So you would expect money to play a factor into it. I know that if I don't sit down and translate those chapters, that my kids' college fund is going to be lacking. The next meal on the table is going to be affected, that kind of thing. So definitely money is a motivating factor. Interestingly, the number 2 response was regarding it being a hobby. And of course, that's how I started. Back when I was doing translating on SPCnet, it was for fun. Or as the number, this one, number 5 or something, for language reasons. I'm going to get to this other one up here in a moment. Really quickly, another one that people put was entertainment. So, people always ask me, how do you stop from, just binge reading the novel in Chinese? Putting aside the fact that I actually read a lot slower in Chinese than in English, I would say that I guess, I'm more dedicated to the work than the fun, but it is fun and entertaining to be able to translate novels like these. 2 people said they want to be famous online. Whoever put those responses, again, I didn't check to see who it was. I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I really don't think that being a novel translator is going to get you famous. I mean, short of like the industry becoming wildly popular and like millions of people suddenly getting into Chinese web novel translations, which I really don't think is going to happen. I mean, the industry is big enough to support people who are doing it full time, like myself, but I don't think the numbers are there to be able to claim anybody's famous. We're totally a niche community, so I would love for that to grow and for more and more people to get into it, but only time will tell. Some people said it was cool. Some of the other ones down here, paying back to the translation community, appreciating the story and the author. There's quite a few things that people responded. Finally, I want to talk about the comments. As you can see, this was the number 3. I mean, it came close to the it's a hobby in terms of how many people responded to it. And I've, for a long time, been a big advocate of encouraging readers to comment on the novels that they read, and I still stand by that. I think it's really important, and I think this survey goes to show that I'm not the only person who feels that way. In a minute, we're going to get into the different kinds of comments that translators appreciate and don't appreciate. But for now, I just would like to point out that I really encourage you to leave comments on the videos. Videos too, obviously. But on the chapters you read, I really encourage you to leave a comment if you like it. It's a big motivating factor. Back when I was doing it for fun, I mean, I was thrilled if I got 1 or 2 comments on a chapter. Of course, back then I was uploading, 1 chapter every week or 2. But everybody, I think, was happy to get a comment or 2. When you are translating, you have access to the statistics, usually, to see how many people are actually viewing the pages, or at least how many page views you're getting. But that's a little different. There's something that's just, I don't know, it doesn't feel as real to see a number on a paper that says a bunch of people looked at the chapter, as it does to see comments on the chapter. It's a big motivating factor, definitely. So again, I encourage you to leave comments on the chapters of the novels that you really like. It really helps the translators to feel like they're being appreciated, I guess. Like when you post a chapter and there's no comments, it feels like you're just like, writing a bunch of stuff on a piece of paper and then throwing it out the window and then it's gone. Like you're tossing it into the void. So again, please leave comments. And I'm not just talking about myself. I'm talking about all the translators that you follow. Incidentally, I wouldn't suggest doing it when you binge read. I would say to many translators, it can be annoying to see like a ton of comments from just one person that just read the whole novel and left a comment on every chapter. I mean, I'm not saying don't do that. That's nice too, but the ones that are being posted live are the ones that really are important, I think. Okay, next, what type of chapter do you like to translate most? This one got mixed. This one has a good mix of responses. The top one was comedic. Next after that was dramatic, and then coming in the third was lore and world building. I think this is the one I selected. I'm already starting to forget specifically on some of the questions because it was close. But for this question, definitely lore and world building for me. I love those cultivation levels and ancient history stories and stuff like that. Action actually came in pretty tied with romance for the least enjoyable chapter to translate. I do enjoy translating action chapters sometimes, but yeah, it's definitely not high on my list. How many chapters do you usually translate per week? I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. You guys all probably know fairly well among the translators that you like what their speed is. But the top one is between 4 to 7. So that looks like, to me, seems like multiple chapters per week, up to 1 a day seems to be the standard. People who do 12 to 16 are in a minimum, and 17 plus the same. Okay, how would you assess your own English writing level? So most people put college, and then after that, aspiring professional writer was a top pick, and then high school was the other majority. So these three made up virtually everybody. There were, let's see here, 2 people who put grade school, and I almost wonder if they weren't looking carefully and thought it said graduate school or something, because grade school is pretty low, but okay. And apparently one person thinks they have the writing of a monkey, and then there's one person out there who believes that they are a professional writer. Okay, how often do you interact with other translators online? Top answers is all the time, and then frequently. Not a big surprise to me, most of the big websites have chat groups where the translators gather and chat with each other. And then similar to that is how often do you interact with other translators in real life? And the mix-up was a little bit different than the other question, which I guess you would expect. Rarely, sometimes is the biggest answer, with rarely being the follow-up, and then a lot of people never do, and only a very small group frequently do. So again, no big surprise here, I think. Okay, now we get into community questions, which is questions about mostly the kind of comments that translators like and don't like. What do you think about thanks for the chapter comments? I appreciate them is the vast, vast majority, and some people don't care, and there's one person who does not like them. So I think this again goes back to what I was saying before about leaving comments on the chapters of the novels you like. The thanks for the chapter comment is okay. Now I know there's hate for it. I see people complaining about it in the forums and in the comment section itself. So for those of you who hesitate, I would say just do the thanks for the chapter. It makes the translators realize there's people out there who like it enough to leave a comment. And for those of you out there who are haters of thanks for the chapter, I would say just chill. It's not like it's that hard to scroll past it, and making the translators feel, fulfilled and happy is good. That keeps the chapters coming. That makes them want to translate. So this is a good thing. What do you think about why didn't the author do something, or those kind of comments? Most people don't care, and then there's a mix between people who appreciate them and people who will get annoyed by that. What do you think about spoiler comments in your chapter discussion areas? I mean, to me, this doesn't seem like a big surprise that the vast majority of translators don't like that. I really don't like that. A few people don't care. I almost wanted to go in to see who put who said that they appreciate them. Again, maybe they like misunderstood the question, or I don't know. But yeah, come on guys, don't put spoiler comments in the spoilers into the comments. Nobody likes that. And especially annoying are the people who like cleverly do it. Like they try to put it as though it's a prediction, even though it's obvious that it's not. It's sometimes hard to tell, but I pay attention to people when they make predictions, and usually there are people who get it right every once in a while, but get it wrong most of the time. And I'm pretty sure that the times they do get it right after getting it wrong most of the time before is not them spoiling anything. It's just them happening to make a correct prediction. What do you think about spoiler discussions about your project in spoiler forums? Most people don't care, and some people actually like them. The one thing I don't like about them is that most of them are based. It seems to me that most of them are from people who read the machine translation, and the problem is, depending on the novel, the machine translation can be wrong, and then the cultivation levels a lot of times get translated really weird in those machine translations, or wrong as far as I'm concerned. So I think they're kind of annoying personally. In fact, I think I'm probably one of the 2 people that said that they annoy me. Especially with Argun, the author that I translate. He has like the most important stuff is usually the hardest stuff to translate. And in I Shall Still the Heavens, I saw people literally posting completely incorrect, like opposite of what actually happened. Spoilers, because they read the machine translation, which was wrong. What do you think about comments asking for more chapters or faster releases? Alright, more than half the people said they annoy me. Some people said they don't care, and only 4 people said they appreciate them. I think generally speaking, I mean obviously it's not just my thought. A bunch of translators don't like that. You asking them to like give more chapters usually is not going to cause them to do that. And complaining when they don't release chapters as fast as you want them to is also not going to result in chapters coming faster. What's going to result in that more than anything else is going to be a lot of comments on their chapters, and then a lot of donations or sponsored chapters. So yeah. Next one. What do you think when people point out typos or grammar mistakes? Vast majority appreciates them. Some don't care, and there's 2 people who said they annoy me. For those 2 translators who said they don't like those things, I think you should maybe convey that to your readers. But for everybody else, yeah, we like to hear those things. Just be polite about it, and don't do it in a condescending way. We do like them. Even though I do like them, I definitely put that I appreciate them. I even have a forum thread specifically for that, and there's a lot of people who email me or instant message me mistakes, so everybody knows that I like that. What does annoy me is when people like try to like talk to me as though they're an English professor and I'm like a 4-year-old kid. It's like, you don't need to preach to me about like grammar. Just point out the mistake and I'll fix it. What do you think about legitimate complaints regarding the plot, character, pacing, or other elements of the story? Most people appreciate them, and a lot of them don't care. Only a few think they annoy me. That made it sound like annoy them. Sorry, I was just reading the reading the response. Okay, now this one, oh man, I don't want this video to go on for too long, and it's already gone on for about 20 minutes. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. I'll leave it here on the screen, and if you want to, just pause the video and you can read them yourself. These are the types of comments that annoy them, that I didn't talk about already. One of them, this is the one I put, if I remember correctly, when people complain about what they think will happen. I get that a lot, where people say, oh, this is where the character is going to level up and then beat the enemy. So stupid. Except that's not what happens. Every single time when people complain about what they are so sure is going to happen, it doesn't happen. So look, just wait until it happens before you complain about it. Accusations of being lazy and only doing it for the money. Links to aggregator sites and other sites that steal people's work. This is one that I hear a lot. Can Wuxia World pick up this blah 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 novel? Most of the time, that's not. You making that request is not going to do anything. It's just not. It kind of annoys the translators. I'm going to skip reading this one, but I understand what they're talking about. People calculating how long it'll take for the novel to be translated and complaining about that. And this is similar in personal attacks for the release speed. Again, those things are not going to get the novel translated any faster. It's not going to help anything. So, I would just just chill and do more to support the translators. Same thing here. A similar thing is when people are, saying, where's the chapter, when you haven't posted it within 3.7 minutes of the time you usually posted it. This is basically what I was talking about, as people leaving spoiler comments or not really understanding the story and commenting on it. This would be annoying, complaining that it's a bad translation but not pointing out the mistakes. Again, the translators usually do like to hear the mistakes. Another thing about spoilers, this is similar to the one that I did actually ask about, which is complaining about the plot. So I tend to, if you don't like the story that much, then why are you reading it? Like, what's the point of you reading the story and then coming on and then complaining constantly about how you don't like it? It's silly. Complaints about the website, I know it sucks without them saying it. I'm pretty sure this must come from Wuxia World translator, because yeah, we all know that Wuxia World website sucks. The new site's coming soon. This right here is, well, I'll show you. I have a Chinese dictionary. Cool, popped up. Giving advice in hindsight. Yeah, it's like, come on, guys. Like, pointing out how the story could have been written better or whatever is just kind of stupid. Comments saying that the novel I'm translating is just like novel XYZ of the same genre. Yeah, I get it. In the beginning, the constant comparisons between I Shall Sail the Heavens and A Will Eternal was a little bit grating. Those of you who are reading these novels in English, don't forget, however many you have read or know about, there are way, way more novels than that exist in China. What we have access to in English is just a very small portion. So wait until you've read like even more than you've already read before you start making comparisons about how they're similar, because they're all pretty similar actually. This is a good one. Someone who asked the same question that's already been asked and answered in previous comments. Okay, what do you think about the drama in the online translation community? Most people are fed up with it, and some people don't care about it. It's exciting. Apparently some people like it, so hey. Hopefully the drama ends, and then these people will be a little disappointed, but everyone else will be happy. All right. What is your general feeling regarding the future of the online novel translation scene? Most people are optimistic and neutral, with some people being pessimistic. Of course, it's not a very, the question is not very detailed, so not quite sure exactly what they're pessimistic about, but okay, what is the best thing about the online translation scene right now? I'm gonna read through these really quickly. The community, a lot of people said that. Commenters, same thing. Consistency, making friends. Somebody likes the money. The variety, the vibrancy and how much it's grown, the enthusiasm and interest. I definitely agree with that. The freedom to work whenever you want. Aside from a certain website, it's very much pick your own novel market, diversity, potential, ardent readers. So you can kind of see what the main themes here are. All right, now this is the difficult question. What's the worst thing about the online translation scene? So the person who said the best thing is the commenters also said that the worst thing is the commenters. Pettiness, legal disputes, slowness of Wuxia World operations internally. Yeah, that's definitely true. And sadly, like sometimes things go really, really slow behind the scenes. Trust me, the translators are just as frustrated as the readers. The rise of the translators who are in it for a quick buck but don't care about translating or storytelling. Yeah, absolutely. Same answer here and here pretty much. And also here, the drama and stuff. It does not pay well. Yeah, if you guys are able to support your translators, please do so. Don't do it if you can't, but please support those who can. This is really annoying. Like I mentioned before, people who read MTL and then spoil it for everybody. Although they don't always spoil it right, so I guess it's kind of like, jokes on them. Drama, disparity of English level, that is definitely a problem. Toxic commenters. I'm not going to read this whole thing, but yeah, there are some commenters who just are bad for the community, and I've recently taken like less of a more harsh stance with those guys, and sometimes just delete the comments. It's not like we're a free speech political philosophy website. It's a place to go and have fun reading novels. So those people who like make it bad for everybody else, just go take the toxic comments somewhere else. There are only 24 hours in a day. I'm not quite sure what that means. Too many novels of the same genre. this name seems to come up a lot. Okay, and finally, is there anything else important you think the community should know about what it's like to be a translator? Some translators don't see themselves dedicating all their time to solely translating, and they'd like to balance their hobby with work, school, social life. A lot of hours, stress and deadlines. A lot of these things are basically talking about the same thing, which is how hard it is. It really is hard, and like here it says, readers are by far and above wonderful, but sometimes expectations are really out of whack. I do see this a lot. You know, we are not machines. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but you can kind of see the theme. Okay, so those are all the responses. This was a pretty long video. I hope it was of some use to those of you out there who have wondered what goes on in the minds of the translators. This one didn't specifically have to do with the novels themselves, so hopefully the next video I do will. Please feel free to give me suggestions about content you would like to see regarding Chinese fantasy novels, and I'll see you next time.